again. It's a rich thing.
Hi loves, from the title description you can see what this video is going to be about, but please stay tuned and watch me sew these beautiful appliques onto this amazing, beautiful prom dress. Stay tuned. So what I'm doing now is gauging where I want to place my appliques. Prior to this video, I cut appliques out. It already came in the shape of really nice flowers, so I really didn't have to do much besides just trace around the shapes and cut them out. So what I'm doing now is placing the pre-cut applique onto the bodice, and I'm making sure to pin those down. And I also want to make sure that they are very straight and flat when pinning them down, so that's why I'm holding them with one hand and placing the pins down with the other. That way to make sure again that it's extremely flat surface, and you want to make sure it's flat because when your client puts on the dress, you don't want the appliques to scrunch up because that's not going to be good. And also, if you guys need a tutorial on how to cut out appliques from fabric, please let me know in the comments below. And what I'm doing is just continuing to place the appliques onto the bodice, making sure to again lay them extremely flat onto the mesh fabric, and I'm using as many pins as possible to achieve the flattest surface possible. So depending on what look you're going for, you may not want to use as many appliques as I'm using, but personally I like to go over several spots a couple of times to make sure that it's that it looks very professional and clean. I really don't like to have a lot of sparse spots when adding applique, especially on a garment like this. So it's really up to you and what you like to do, but you see at the very top I went ahead and added more, and I'll be adding more to the right side as well. And as you can see, I am sewing the appliques onto the very fine mesh bodice. And what I'm doing is sewing around the appliques, and again being extremely careful in making sure that they are laying extremely flat. And I also sew pretty close together. The reason I do that so the bodice won't be bulky, or the appliques again won't scrunch up, and you also want to make sure that you are sewing underneath the applique and not on top of the applique. You don't want to see threads on top of the pretty flowers because that would kind of take away from the look, right? So also what I do is make sure that I tie knots throughout this process, and what that will do is reinforce those threads, because again you don't want the appliques to bulk up, and you also don't want the threads to come out and then you'll have appliques that are kind of coming up. Alright guys, and all I'm doing is just sewing the edges of the applique onto the mesh bodice, and I'm being again very careful to sew very close together. Now if you do want to sew through the actual applique like I'm doing, you definitely can, but just make sure that you are being very careful to sew underneath the garment and making sure that you sew exactly where the thread comes out of. And then again, tie your knots while you go to make sure that you're making sure that all the applique stays firmly in place. Make sure that you also are removing the pins as you go. You don't have to, but I like to, so that way it doesn't get caught inside the thread like you see there. I know that this process can be very tedious, but you have to be patient because the end result is always so beautiful, especially when you're following these directions and these steps. And make sure that your application is always extremely flat, and make sure that you're using as many pins as possible. I'm just gonna let this video play. I'm not gonna say too much. I don't want to bore you guys or distract you, because I know that tutorials can be kind of distracting sometimes, but this can also be therapeutic. So just watch it, get some great tips, look at my technique, and try to mimic it for your next big projects. Have fun.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. I hope that it was very informative for you. I know it's kind of simple, but for some people this might be something that they really needed to see, they really needed to learn how to do. If you have any additional questions, please ask me in the comments. You guys stay safe and have a great day.